The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Craig Higdon, Web Content Specialist here at ASP.NET Storefront. Today we're going over 3 new game-changing ways to leverage inventory information. In this session, Kevin Martin of eBridge will educate merchants on new approaches to inventory management and how to use inventory information. This includes inventory-driven search, tapping into the mobile phenomenon, and of course back-office integrations. Now, Kevin is the marketing coordinator at eBridge, and he manages the company's website, the blog, and their social media outlets. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Pretty good. And yourself, Craig?
Doing well, doing well. So I think we're ready to get going here. I want to let everybody know that we will be taking questions at the end. So throughout the webinar, if you do have questions, just go ahead and ask them over in your GoToWebinar bar over to the right-hand side of your screen. And we will be answering them I'll be going through them throughout, and then at the end we'll be getting the ones to Kevin that we have time for. So Kevin, go for it.
All right, thanks, Craig. Hi and welcome again, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm glad you guys could all make it today. As Craig said, my name is Kevin Martin, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at eBridge. For any of you that aren't already familiar with us, we offer integration from ASP.NET Storefront to over 40 different accounting packages, providing a fully automated and bi-directional connection between your offline business processes. So I'm hoping through today's presentation, as well as any discussion we can strike up afterwards, that I might be able to convince you to take a bit of a different approach to your online marketing tactics than you might already be employing. We work with a large number of online merchants, mostly the small to medium business owners. It's no secret through talking to them that cutting through the noise online seems to be a pretty prime concern today. So let's take a look at what we're going to cover. So we'll start out with just a brief look at today's online marketplace and kind of the state of the nation there, as well as my explanation as to why I think inventory is actually marketing gold and not just the products that you guys sell. As well, we're going to dive into the 3 game changers, kind of the main topic for today, which was inventory-driven search, smartphone commerce, as well as back-office integration. I'll wrap it up with just a couple extra final thoughts from my end, and then we'll open up the floor to hopefully your questions and some good discussion. So before we dive right in, let's take a brief look at the state of things in the online marketplace today, and ultimately how we arrived at today's webinar topic. I'm willing to bet that most of you currently, if I asked you right now, could currently rhyme off at least 5 different direct competitors to your business. For those that are in more crowded industries like sporting goods or electronics, for example, that number increases exponentially. This really comes as no surprise, though, given the low barriers to entry and minimal overhead costs in comparison to brick-and-mortar retail. So as a result, the online marketplace is oversaturated with merchants of all sizes, and they're all vying for the precious attention of the online shopper, which in turn is your online shopper as well. Now, there are lots of proven tactics that will provide positive changes to your online business. Ensuring your site is built to the proper SEO standards can yield higher volumes of organic traffic and better conversion rates. This is a proven fact. Investing in AdWords and content display networks will also allow you to buy your way to the front page of search results, giving you exposure and additional traffic. However, these strategies are considered by many to be the status quo today, just required to play ball. And I mean, even if half of your competitors invest the same amount in building quality pages or match your bids on AdWords, the net effect on your store could be enough to outweigh the cost of these initiatives. So in other words, it's looking pretty grim. That's what got us thinking. Sort of kept us up at night wondering how merchants, especially the small to medium-sized ones with already stretched resources, could differentiate and excel in such a crowded marketplace. Up against countless competitors, many with much larger budgets and reach, it does kind of seem like mission impossible. We eventually decided to pull a 180 on how we were approaching the issue. We originally looked externally for opportunities and untapped ideas and resources, but what little we did come across that we felt was unique or new or original, we didn't feel it would fly across all industries, and we know that online merchants are selling in just about every industry you can think of. So we didn't really like that. So at that point, we realized we needed something that everyone had, a common denominator. So something that every business selling goods online would have. Now, I know there are some service-based companies, we couldn't really factor them into this thought, but anyone who's selling goods online, they're all going to fit this. So, I mean, it's no big surprise here given the title of our webinar today. We landed on inventory. Now, I realize at first, when you first think of it, it doesn't seem like the greatest fit, and especially unless you have a truly unique line of products, inventory might seem like a dead end when looking for differentiation. I mean, if everyone else is selling the exact same product, it doesn't really seem like a good fit when you're looking to stand out. However, I challenge you to think of your inventory more like a sword. It's not the size of the sword that matters, it's how you use it, and in this case, how you use it to get a leg up on your competition. I'd like you to consider that inventory is often underutilized as a marketing tool because it's viewed most often as the lifeblood of your company. Most of your main concerns around inventory usually circle around shipping times, managing stock levels, and really just trying to keep a handle on it while it fluctuates from day to day. If you stop and take a step back, which I know for most of you is likely easier said than done, your inventory can become a goldmine of marketing potential. Things like product attributes can help you cut through the noise and cater to more specific searches, or exposing up-to-date inventory quantity levels can help build confidence in buyers. In addition, you can use that same inventory quantity information to increase the efficiency of your ad spend. It can also be looked at as an area to recover valuable labor resources by automating some of the time-consuming and tedious tasks that are generally associated with its management and processing. There are likely other great ways to leverage inventory data based, outside of those concerns, but we decided to focus on three that we feel could have a pretty significant impact on your business. So let's dive into those three right now. First up is the notion of inventory-driven search. Now, this strategy focuses mainly on improving the performance and relevance of your paid search investment, and I know some of you might not be at that level yet, but some of the basic fundamentals that I'm going to discuss might offer you a leg up when applied just to your overall marketing, online marketing portfolio. Inventory-driven search allows merchants to dynamically control the content and flow of paid ads based on their inventory information, their live inventory information. As I briefly mentioned a moment ago, product attributes offer a lucrative source for keywords. Every time you every item you sell has a slew of potential attributes. I mean, you can think of dozens already, but I mean, things like size, color, weight, brand, model number, MSRP, condition, countless others. Now, keeping that in mind, you know that your average sneaker connoisseur, the sneaker collector out there, isn't just searching for sneakers. He doesn't just go to Google and type that word in, or online sneaker sales. He's much more likely to be looking for example, a black size 12 Nike Air Plus. You already have all of those adjectives in your possession. You just need to leverage them. There are systems that can build your keywords based on this information automatically, or you could invest some time and create keyword sets for each product. The decision really depends on the amount of time and or capital you have at your disposal in comparison to the size and turnover of your inventory. I mean, that varies greatly from merchant to merchant, so it's kind of an internal decision you'd have to make based on your current situation. But either way, including up-to-date product attributes in your AdWords will result in more relevant ads for users, which ultimately translates into potentially higher conversion rates for those ads. When talking about inventory-driven search, we also need to look at the flow of ads and how it helps. A common pain point for online shoppers, and I mean I can relate to this personally, is when back orders occur or inventory outages. It's incredibly frustrating when you finally found a product and the person you want to buy it from. Most often I can find a computer part I'm looking for at 10 different retailers, but there's always one that kind of shines based on service or whatever that quality might be. If you've already won the customer there, it would really, really suck to lose them just because you don't have the product during that week when they really want it. Now, I'm not suggesting that you pull the plug on a product page every time you run out of stock. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense either. It's kind of the other end of the spectrum. But I challenge you to question the fact as to why bother spending money on ads that aren't driving potential customers to pages that have a 100% chance of not converting. So it's kind of like buying a newspaper ad in your local newspaper to sell a bicycle that you don't have yet, or that you're going to get 3 months down the road during your birthday celebration. It doesn't make sense. You're paying all that money for the ad and knowing full well that you're not going to make a dime back. Now again, whether you use an automated process or try to tackle this hands-on, using inventory quantity levels to control which ads are displayed is a surefire way to increase conversion rates. I mean, when you think about it, All you need to do is convert one customer as a result of this change, and you've already done better than your out-of-stock ads could have done. And the last consideration around inventory-driven search that I wanted to discuss is data. And as a result of these two initiatives, you're provided with a wealth of information that you can analyze and benefit from. Monitoring the performance of your custom keyword sets may provide insight into consumer search trends, which could then tip you off on hot products or brands to make sure you're well stocked on those, buying out ads for those specific items. All based on this, just based on some other helpful tactics you're employing for marketing. You get all this data then to analyze, use, and make your current initiatives more efficient. You could also take this information and refine your keywords that you've already just set up in an effort to improve their performance. But the real beauty here is that not only are you getting a couple steps ahead of your competitors by employing these strategies, you also reap the benefits of that data. And that data is something that no one else can really emulate. And in that sense, it's priceless. Your competitors could be doing the same things. They could be getting the data, but chances are not all of them are. And this stuff isn't out there for them to access and use and mine and use to increase the efficiency of their ads. It's all yours. The second game changer that I wanted to discuss and share with you guys today is tied directly to the explosive and arguably worldwide growth of smartphone usage and their capabilities. And that last word is the crucial part here. Most people stop at the buzzwords of mobile commerce or m-commerce and start to just focus on having a mobile site or a watered-down, mobile-friendly version of their site, their full e-commerce site. A smaller subset of merchants would go the extra mile and invest in a dedicated app for their store, which oftentimes, really, from what I've seen, just turns out to be a polished version of their mobile site and not really much more, no value added of it. But don't get me wrong, mobile sites are great and arguably necessary in today's world. It is pretty frustrating trying to navigate a full-page, full-scale website on a 4-inch screen when it's really not intended to be consumed that way. But we live in a society where it's commonplace to check your email on your device in your pocket, even when you're sitting, a foot or two away from your computer. It seems kind of ridiculous at first, but stop and think about why we do it. For one, it's easier. A few thumb taps and you're halfway through an email. It's also more versatile. You can snap a picture and attach it to an email in seconds versus, grabbing your camera, taking a picture, connecting to a computer, so on and so on. It can even be faster than using a PC. Thanks to push notifications, messages often appear on phones minutes before desktop PCs. And if you're an active user of a phone and a PC for consuming email, you've probably noticed that more than once. So why is it then that the majority of mobile e-commerce sites only try to emulate the functionality of the main site? In most cases, they actually have to strip out certain functionality because it doesn't play well with our mobile browsers or mobile operating systems. I'd like to suggest that you need to be ready for smartphone commerce rather than just m-commerce or mobile commerce. And that comes with a new kind of set of considerations on top of what's already there. One is the idea of alerts. There are smartphone apps in virtually every category in the app market or the app store for every mobile OS that I can think of that utilize push notifications for smartphone users today. It's an expected functionality and one that lends itself beautifully to online merchants. Now, there are two types of alerts in particular that you can employ to improve the user experience for your customers. First off, you can use the app to push alerts for product updates, as well as sales or special offers. I'd argue that quality over quantity would be the general rule of thumb here, but if your offers are enticing enough, as is seen in some of these Groupon and deal-a-day sites, some of the offers are just, I can't refuse. I end up buying them no matter what because it's, you save 80%. Not suggesting you can do that all the time, but if you pepper those kind of really, really enticing ads into these, they'll turn into conversions. People want to buy stuff that's a really good deal. This can be automated so that your app will automatically push out alerts as you make changes to prices or offers, for example. Doesn't have to be, though. This could also be a manual process or a batch process, however you choose to do it. The other type of alert to consider would be a user-initiated alert for restocking updates. Now, anytime you can get something that is an opt-in for the user, it's far better. I mean, it's much better to try and get someone to agree to something before you do it. And so it adds value to the user and value to your app as well, not just the buying experience, but it makes your app that much more worthwhile for them to open and check on a regular basis. So if they found an item, for example, in your store at the price they want, and they're willing to wait for you to restock, if they're not disgruntled, as I was saying earlier, and they just kind of leave and buy the next best thing, your main concern there is to reduce the lag time between when you restock and when the user's made aware. I mean, if they're already loyal, this is your one kind of last thread before they drop and abandon cart. Without that notification system, your only hope is that the user is vigilant enough to continue checking the app or mobile site in hopes of an update. An email could also work, but email isn't technically instant. Sometimes we know it can get lost in a rather high volume inbox if the person gets a lot of email. So a push notification would close that time gap to almost nothing and be front and center for the user. I mean, think about how often you pull out the phone out of your pocket. I likely look at mine every 10 to 15 minutes, depending on what I'm doing. And if there's a push notification, it's the first thing I check if it's sitting up in my bar. So you're right in the face of your customer. You're reminding them, hey, your product's in, come buy it. It's a really good idea. And a lot of the online stores and even the online apps that I've seen don't have this functionality, and it's kind of baffling to me at this point. Another consideration for smartphone commerce is surrounding product browsing and your checkout. To stay in tune with the expectations of smartphone users, your mobile app should cut down on any unnecessary load or wait times. We're in a world today where our phones are so fast that even a second or two of waiting is, I don't bother checking out a web page that I've seen on Twitter if it takes more than 3 seconds to load on my phone, which if you asked me 5 years ago, you can pull up a full web page on your phone, it would have been amazing. The world's moving fast, it's moving even faster as we go, so there's no excuse for any kind of wait time or lag time here. Your checkout process should be as rapid as possible and encourage return visits. And one great way to do this would be to create a one-time login for the user when they first download the app. That way you can capture their shipping and billing information once, making one-click purchases a reality, and I know Amazon's done an amazing job of this. I don't know if they were the first, but they're the one that springs to mind just because of how easy it seems when I'm on Amazon just to buy something. It seems like I've clicked twice and it's already on its way. You can also use that sign-up process, though, to have your users opt in, and you could do this by default, checking a box and saying, uncheck it if you don't want this. Have them opt in that way to your promotional alerts so that you're kind of covering yourself there and not just spamming them, because people hate spam. You'll also want to ensure that your entire range of inventory is displayed on your website, that is displayed on your website, is also available within your app. It's incredibly frustrating for a user that knows that you sell an item and it's available on your website, for them to be out in a hurry or at a bar wanting to show someone this item and they can't pull it up. There seems to be no way to pull it up short of going into their browser and trying to fumble around your main site trying to find it. So as long as you kind of keep it mirrored, and there's no reason why you shouldn't, it's a much more valuable experience for the user. The third aspect of smartphone commerce that you do need to be aware of is location awareness. Whether you know it by name or not, you're likely aware of it. I've got a few services up there on the right that utilize it that are kind of front and center in the tech world today. But it does lend itself nicely, again, to the idea of smartphone commerce. Using existing technologies, you could have your app display region-specific sales messages or store-specific notices regarding stock levels or the latest product or sale, depending on where your user is located. So you can base it not only on location, but the inventory closest to that person, depending on how your logistics are set up. And again, this is going to vary from person to person, but the potential is there to use it in whatever capacity you're prepared to. It's also a really great way to marry your online channel with your brick-and-mortar locations, should you have any in your network. And the last way that I wanted to share, the third kind of game-changing way that we'd like to get you to explore, is to look at inventory as a way to accelerate your business. And by doing that, I mean harnessing the power of back-office integration. Not only will this initiative help free up human capital required to tackle the two we've already discussed, but it supplements some of the related tasks as well. So for starters, you're left with no manual data entry. Now, remember earlier when I talked about using all of that valuable product attributes to tailor your ads and make them most effective and most relevant to your users? Well, if you're the owner of this inventory, you likely know that that information doesn't just create itself, organize it, and enter itself into your system. Someone has to key that data in. On top of that, Most merchants need to enter their product details into both their accounting package and their online store. So, if you have 5,000 unique products, that means someone has to enter the information for 10,000. You can see pretty easily how this problem just compounds itself as your inventory range grows. And I mean, as you as a company grow, chances are your inventory range, or at least stock level, might grow, or your adaptations to certain products, you might start stocking other lines. It's almost inevitable this problem is going to turn into a mountain out of the molehill it might currently be. It also creates more opportunity for human error. Where we are only human, we're liable to make mistakes and errors while entering information. And this type of mistake could have adverse effects on your business, especially if they occur in pricing info or shipping times. Anything that's going to directly affect the customer and their experience, it's really something you want to mitigate as much as possible. So anytime an order is placed on your store, it also creates another instance where manual data entry is required. The need for almost all of this work, though, and the concern around it and the mistakes that could arise from it, could be eliminated by automating these processes. With e-commerce integration into your accounting package, you only need to enter the information once, and it's automatically populated from there, or from whichever you choose to be the master record. So, I mean, if you wanted to only work with your store or your accounting package to be entering this product information and price updates, you make that choice. That's set as the master. Everything is automatically integrated into the other system or systems. You can connect more than one store, your CRM application, whatever business system you really need integrated, the data moving back and forth, we can handle that. So those sales orders created anytime a customer makes a purchase are also automatically sent to your accounting package with fields mapped exactly the way you require. The result is the added benefit of improving your order processing as well as your inventory management. And I just wanted to mention about that field mapping there as well. A lot of data integration tools out there will kind of move information from system A to system B, but kind of leave it intact in the way they originally got it. We take that a step further and actually map it based on your business rules, so that if your name from the sales order in ASP.NET Storefront needs to go into the first name field in QuickBooks, we map that so every time that piece of information gets mapped and put into the right spot. So it's always clean, valid data, no matter which system you're looking at it in. Another consideration is around up-to-date inventory levels. Trying to manually update inventory levels on your online store can be cumbersome to try and keep it as up-to-date as possible. Depending on the rate of your inventory turnover and the size of your product catalog, it could be just about impossible to stay current. Now, this can also be handled automatically through integration. By connecting your store to the accounting package through eBridge Connections online integration platform, your store's inventory information can be updated as often as every 10 minutes based on the information in your accounting package. It doesn't have to be that quick, or it could be even a little faster, I think, but ultimately it's a batch process that runs every 10 minutes. So your store is going to be quite up to date without all that manual changing of quantity updates within your store. As an added benefit here as well, it also helps to provide tighter, more agile control over those dynamically served ads that I was talking about that are served out based on inventory levels. If you're using a web application to change and kind of turn on and off the taps there, having every 10 minutes your ads being served out are going to be relevant to what stock you have. So it's a very agile system, and automating that process just makes it that much better and returns that much more of a conversion rate on those ads. The last idea I just wanted to kind of drill home here about back office integration is the fact that it's scalable, at least ours is. Thanks to our software as a service model, the automation of these tasks is scalable in terms of both volume and system upgrades. So if your store were to triple its order volume today without integration, you'd be left with triple the amount of work required to process the orders, and that additional time spent adding to your likely growing inventory. The integration that we've described here, however, would keep on working the way it did when you first employed it. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000 orders per month or 50,000 orders, the volume's no concern. It's also universal, meaning your integration isn't tied to your current accounting or e-commerce software choices. You made those choices mostly for your accounting package. So you made that choice based on your current business situation. But what about when that changes? And for example, if you started out as a small business grabbing QuickBooks off the cart or off the shelf, it might have worked for the first few years of your business, but as you really start to grow and create new business relationships, you might need a more robust accounting package like one of the Microsoft Dynamics packages or say like Sage Mass 90 or Mass 200, there's no reason why you should have to reinvest all over again in an integration solution. By doing that, I mean ASP.NET Storefront is going to be doing a great way of handling that increased volume in orders. There's no reason why you'd have to continue trying to struggle with that small package or reinvest, a large sum into a new custom integration solution for that new package. We have support currently for over 40 accounting packages, as well as a handful of popular CRM packages, as well as ASP.NET Storefront, some other e-commerce carts, as well as those e-commerce hubs. We said a lot of merchants, if you're selling on ASP.NET Storefront in a store there, you might also be selling your goods on eBay or an eBay store or on Amazon as well, just to kind of differentiate your offering. We cover all of that, and all of these lists are growing currently in terms of our supported systems. So this means that as your needs as a merchant grow, your investment grows with you. It's truly comforting news to the business owner that's on the verge of expanding into unknown territory. So that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to share around our 3 game-changing ways to leverage inventory information. I hope I was able to provide you guys with enough information to at least get you thinking about inventory as a marketing tool. Better yet, think of it as your secret weapon. I mean, when you think about everything I've talked about today, none of it would be blatantly obvious to your competitors, except maybe perhaps if you develop an outstanding mobile commerce app that gets featured, and it might catch their attention there. But in large, most of these are internal strategies that will really give you a leg up without tipping anyone off, whether that be your direct competitors or those sleeping giants that you might not have crossed quite yet. So I mean, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Craig, I don't know if any came through while I was presenting.
Great, Kevin. Yeah, thank you. We don't have any questions yet, so if anybody in there is interested in learning a little more about how they can leverage their product information, or if they saw any questions that came up for them during during Kevin's presentation, go ahead and send them through. Give them a minute or two here just to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'd be happy to just, if you don't have a question, if it's something you wanted to explore a little further, I'm always up for some open discussion. There's lots to build on here, and we're always really excited to hear from merchants with first-hand experience, so don't be shy.
So, I guess I have a question. With the Panda Farmer update that just came out, the importance of unique product descriptions. One of the things that at least we run into is people are always wondering, like, am I supposed to write those thousands of new pieces of content? How do you suggest people deal with something like that?
Well, I think we've kind of covered a lot of that in what I talked about earlier around inventory-driven search and the idea of using the keywords. And I know the concern there is mainly over quantity. You need to worry about having thousands of unique products, and you can't have too much duplication, because as soon as Google sees duplication, they see that as not very usable or valuable content for users, and they rate that down. If you can find any way to automate that marrying of attributes to your keyword sets, there's a number of software out there, and I mean, if people are actually wondering about this, I've thrown up my contact info. I can send you a few links to some articles I found just doing some research around this whole presentation. But there are some ways and some systems out there. I'm not sure if there's anything for free quite yet, but ways of automating that process. And I mean, if you wanted to take it that one step further, you'd look at automating processes around it, being, that inventory information when it's entered the first time, making sure it's spread across all of your business systems, like your commerce store, your eBay store, your accounting package, making sure it's all one source there also helps. But yeah, I guess just looking for a way to automate it, or growing your staff or making it more of a concern, just doing it once, and then once you've got all your inventory up there, that first time, it's a little easier, because then you're just using analytics to kind of fine-tune and make small changes here and there based on what you see in terms of conversions. But ultimately, if budgets are tight, and I know oftentimes they are for most merchants, try to get creative. Dedicate a couple hours a day, just knocking off, say, 100 items. Spread it out over your team. Kind of delegate. If everyone does 10 items a day, it might only take a couple months. It ultimately depends on what kind of inventory levels we're looking at, but there are definitely ways to help if needed.
Well, one of the other things that at least I often recommend is having a very liberal kind of review policy. If you encourage people to write, you'll often end up not only with user-generated keywords, but you'll catch a lot of the kind of tangential keywords that are related to your topic and related to your product that you might not necessarily think of. A lot of times the keywords that come out of the usage of these products is something that a retailer doesn't necessarily think about.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, anytime you can have a user endorsing a product on your site, it's just going to grow that buyer confidence and reduce that post-purchase dissonance they get, after they buy that TV. Was it the best TV out there? Did I do enough research? A few good comments on your site with enough of a description as to, things like reliability, usage, and certain lighting. Like Craig said, a lot of these things aren't things you can put nicely into product attributes or an ad, but they're used by users, and users will often search. Like if I look for, say I was shopping for a TV, I would look for, Samsung 40-inch plus reliable, minus error, something just to give me a good sense that what I'm looking at is a good TV. And if you search using those kind of conversational words or phrases, you're not going to get found even if you have the best keyword set based on your attributes. But, Craig said, if you have a couple good conversationally based reviews on your site, that just gets picked up, and chances are no one else is going to have that unless they have the same kind of user base to provide that feedback.
Well, Kevin, I guess you were incredibly thorough today. We don't have any questions for you.
Right. Well, I mean that's not always a bad thing.
No. Well, I want to say to everyone in the audience, if you do have any more questions, you can see Kevin's contact info right there on the screen in front of you. Go ahead and get in touch with him. I want to thank everybody for coming this week. I especially want to thank Kevin Martin from eBridge Software, eBridge Connections, for coming and giving us such a great presentation. Next week we have Jo Benson. She'll be back to talk about a number of tips to help with your e-commerce success, your online success. If you want to see a review of this, the video of this webinar will be posted on our blog, blog.asp.netstorefront.com. If you want to keep in touch with future webinars and find out exactly what we're doing, follow us on Twitter and follow us on Facebook. You can get links to both of those at our blog, blog.asp.netstorefront.com. I want to thank everybody for being here, and we'll see you next week.